item D on the resolutions.
Okay.
I, would weigh in. We're just moving a truck from my department to Water Resources for the
Right.
next 6 months. And if Gene wants to keep it, it's all his.
You set, Amy?
Yep, we're good.
All right.
Okay.
Let's call this session to order and begin by saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to
and
the
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's recess into solid waste.
Move to approve the minutes, September 3rd, 2020.
I'll second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move to approve the September 10, 2020 bills as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move to approve the September 10, 2020 then and now certification as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Did I do the journal vouchers?
No, and I was
Okay.
just gonna say B.
Move to approve the September 10, 2020 journal vouchers as presented by the county auditor.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Amend Resolution 20-125, authorizing the sale of obsolete equipment by the Portage County Solid Waste Management District, public auction.
This one, we're amending this to remove a 1995 white GMC tandem axle tractor. We were originally going to sell that at public auction, but just in a casual conversation with Jim Ackerley at Water Resources, he asked me if we had something like that over here for the next 6 months. And I said, most certainly, we're more than happy to share assets. And as we speak, the guys are getting it roadworthy. We haven't used it in a number of years. And hopefully, if not at the latest on Monday, get it up to Streetsboro and they could use it. And, if they can find a long-term use for it, I think that's great. But for at least the next 6 months, it's theirs.
Okay. Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Portage County Board of Commissioners certifies to the Portage County Auditor unpaid charges for recycling collection services on all residential properties in the Portage County Solid Waste District.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right. The only other thing is I will be out. I'm scheduled to be out of the office next week, so you won't have my long, laborious agenda for next week. It should be the 3 standard resolutions. But if you need me, I'm doing the staycation. So with that, everyone have a great day.
You
and
too.
All
enjoy
right.
the weather.
Have a
Enjoy
good
your
staycation.
staycation.
I will. Karen's got me busy.
Bye, Bill.
I'll give her some more
Bye.
list items.
Not a problem.
Move to solid waste.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Hi, Sue.
Good morning, Sue. You're muted, but we are ready for you when you unmute.
Can we reconvene?
It's on in a different
Oh, I'm
spot.
sorry. Yes. We'll
Yep.
reconvene into our general session and turn it over to Sue.
All right. My first journal is our regular journal from 1413, which is the WIOA fund, to the Public Assistance Fund for shared costs via the RMS for the first adjustment for July and then August of 2020.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to transfer 42,072.94 from Fund 1413 WIA Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, and then our second one is our quarterly transfer from the WIA fund to the Public Assistance Fund for the one-stop sharing costs for OMJ.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to transfer 12,999.67 from Fund 1413 WIA Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All
Thanks,
right, that's it
Sue.
for me. Thanks,
Thank
guys. Have a
you.
good
Thank
day.
you, Sue.
You.
Bye-bye.
Is that you, Joanne?
It's me.
We are ready for you. Good
All right.
morning.
Good morning. First resolution I have is on behalf of the county engineer. He has obtained 90% federal funding to cover his sign inventory study, which equates to $37,476. So we'd like to enter into a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to authorize the Portage County Engineer to execute local public agency agreement number 35259, PID number 113516, with the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation for a sign inventory safety study covering all roads under the jurisdiction of the Portage County Engineer.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay. And my last resolution today is entering into a memorandum of understanding on behalf of the board, adult probation, and also the common police courts for drug testing of offenders or possible offenders with Mid-American Court Services. This is currently, this contract will be paid through the end of the year out of the CARES Fund. Since we were looking for and trying to have services done where they were not involving the office staff, trying to keep the separation.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Portage County Courts of Common Pleas, Adult Probation Department, and the Portage County Board of Commissioners and Mid-American Court Services, LLC.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you,
Joanne.
Joanne.
Have a good day.
You too.
Sue.
Todd, are you on the line?
Yeah, you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, and did you get the email I sent regarding the bill run?
Yeah, and I saw there's no wire transfer for benefits. Is that
There-
correct?
it's
Health
Medical
benefits?
Mutual.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
sorry,
thought I
what
saw 0.
There is
For-
a medical, excuse me, Medical Mutual one.
Okay.
And the bill run itself was fairly light, 428,000. That's on the lower side of what we usually get. Everything else was fairly normal. The then and nows did jump up, but 125,000 of that is JFS paying their rent, which it's more of a technicality that it ended up being a then and now, but there's nothing of concern there. If you take out that 125, it becomes more in line with the numbers that we're used to seeing this time of year. And then resolution number 5, that's an annual thing that we have to do. Basically, now that we passed the tax budget and the Budget Commission has certified it, we now need to send this resolution to the auditor saying that, yes, we really do need all the tax levies that are currently on the books. And that's what number 5 does.
Okay.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, September 10, 2020 bills, ACH payments as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, September 10, 2020 wire transfers for health benefits as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, September 10, 2020 journal vouchers as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Sabrina, do you mean to cut your video out?
Yeah, for just a second. I had to get a different charger.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call,
Okay,
Amy.
I'm back.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to approve the Thursday, September 10, 2020 then and now certification as presented by the county auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners authorizes the necessary property tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor as rates estimated by the county auditor and approved by the County Budget Commission, ORC 5705.34 for fiscal 2021.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners approve the August 2020 adjustments to the Portage County Water, Portage County Sewer, and Streetsboro Sewer billing accounts as reported on the adjustment reports submitted and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Todd.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Hey, Janet.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, looks like I have two discussion items. The first one is the revised COVID-19 travel memo. Recently, in the past, maybe the past week, the CDC has updated their guidance on the required 14-day quarantine period when you're returning from all international travel. They have since removed the 14-day requirement. They're really just recommending that you just follow the normal social distancing guidance that's out there. And I've listed that actually from the CDC's website in the memo. And then the rest of the memo remains the same, is the same memo date on August 6th in regards to the travel within Ohio or traveling on a cruise. Now, just 2 days ago, the CDC did change some of the countries they're recommending because they're risk level 3. They are recommending just being really more careful when traveling to countries and possibly quarantining when you return from those countries. I did not list that in the memo because I feel like the CDC updates it so frequently that I feel like we might be updating this memo more than, I guess, what we want. So I did not list that specifically in the memo. However, on the second page of the memo, I did just put and you can see in the bold print, I did just put a statement in because the pandemic is rapidly evolving and that the CDC guidance is updated frequently, that it would be recommended that employees just check the CDC website before they travel, inside or outside the United States, just check the CDC.
Yeah.
So if you feel differently, I could revise that language, but yeah, it was just, I believe it was just 2 days ago that they updated.
I think that's good, Janet.
Yeah.
Janet, are you fielding a lot of questions about travel and vacation. It just seems like we're updating this memo every week.
We were, when it first came out with the 15% positivity rate, there were, I mean, I won't say there's a lot, but there were several questions coming from either supervisors or department directors or employees themselves saying, hey, I want to travel here. What do I have to do when I return? That has calmed down a little bit, but we do get one every now and then. Now, international travel, I haven't heard anyone ask about that. Cruise, it was a few months ago. I think there was a question about cruise, but I think it was more so about, can I go on a cruise if I'm, or something like that. But
well, the reason I say that is I think you left a fair amount of flexibility in the original policy about checking the website and consulting with supervisors. So I don't know that you need to bear the responsibility and bring before us, you know, every slight change that comes out, because it seems like it's being handled by, you know, with the current structure in place and with supervisors. So it seems like a lot of information coming out about travel, and maybe might be a little bit overkill, but I'm glad that you're not getting pummeled with questions all the time, and that the original guidance, I think, was helpful. So I don't know if we need to continue to have minor updates or if it's good as is, but why don't you, keep an eye on it and keep us updated. But I think you've done a good job.
Yeah.
overall
But you know what? I
with putting
think
it together.
this revision was important though, because it does remove the 14 days. And so, I mean, something like that is substantial. I
Mhm.
think that was a good update though.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
thanks,
it
Janet.
could be minor changes. No, I
Yeah.
really don't have plans on changing the memo if they make minor changes, but yeah, like this one, because
It's
the
a
memo
big
did
one.
have a 14-day requirement for international travel, and they removed that. So I
Mhm.
don't want employees to think they had a quarantine if they traveled to Germany or whatever. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and they do change it. They change it frequently enough.
It sounds
And
like
the
it.
departments are doing it quite well. Mhm, yeah.
Thanks, Janet.
Why we've discussed it has changed one more time, so
Right. I know.
it is dynamic.
It is, yes, ever evolving, that's for sure.
What do you need from us on that, Janet? Just okay.
Yeah, I say just an okay. I think we might have had a journal entry for the August 6th memo, if I remember correctly. And I did not prepare a journal entry for today's memo, but I would say, I mean, if you're okay with just give me permission to send this out to the BOC directors.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And then the second discussion item is the draft regarding the temporary remote learning and childcare leave. And I know we just sent this out late yesterday, so I'm not too sure if the board had a chance to review that policy or not. Or what your thoughts were about it.
You sent that yesterday, right?
Yes. Mhm.
I thought. Pull it back up.
I think it's simplified and takes into account the different needs of families and remote learning versus in-school learning, and the possibility that could change on the fly. So I think it makes sense. If possible, I'd like to implement it quickly because, school is back. So it's important, I think, that we get this clarity out there. Can we do this today, or what do you need from us?
The resolution, I prepared the resolution, but the prosecutor's office is reviewing it.
Oh, okay.
I don't have the resolution for you today.
Okay.
But you could, I mean, if you want to, at least for now, approve it, and then I'll bring the resolution back next week for the official adoption. Does that make sense? And that way, if something would happen between now and then, or,
It's in place, yeah.
Yeah.
We know what to use.
Well, why don't we put why don't maybe send it out as a draft and say the formal resolution will come next week. And I think, again, we're always covered by the overarching public health emergency. Directors can make decisions and come back to us if they need to before that time. So, but I think send it out so that people have that guidance if they need it now.
I could do
And
that.
then we can formalize, hopefully, I'm sure prosecutor will have that done by next week.
Yeah, and Chris said he would have it done.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you for your work on that, Janet. I know there's a lot of back and forth and we appreciate it.
It's ever changing too. Okay, I'll do that. And then I just have 2 journal entries.
Okay.
And these are the generic, like basic journal entries I always have.
Okay.
Okay.
Board of Commissioners, we move that the Board of Commissioners accepts the resignation of Megan Pryor Hazlett, Program Manager, Group Home, effective October 3, 2020.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agree to authorize the 2-week external posting of the full-time Program Manager, Group Home, replacing Megan Pryor Hazlett for Portage County Job and Family Services.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay. And then now I see Susan. Susan should be on the call. And then we also
Yeah.
have Doug Brown from Willis. They're going to talk about the 2021 health benefit plan. And I believe I sent the presentation to everybody on Tuesday,
Mhm.
I believe. So that's actually in a separate email from me. I haven't seen Susan in a while. Hi, Susan. We talk.
Hi, Doug.
There we got
Hello.
Doug. He's
Laura before. How Laura works with Willis, with Doug Brown at Willis.
Good morning.
Morning,
Hi,
Laura.
good morning. Good morning.
Doug, you're muted.
Sorry. You'd think by now, having done so many of these, you would think, you know.
And then who else do we have on the line? Is Todd back?
I think that's Todd.
Okay.
That's Todd's number.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here.
great.
Doug, you want to go ahead and take the lead there?
Sure. Yeah. And Laura Marshall will be jumping on in here at some point. She's a team member of ours at Willis Tower. So, but I'll be going through the presentation. I think you have it in front of you. I hope. Am I should be sharing? I don't know how to share screen, Susan.
Hey, everybody has their copy. Am I correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You got-
I think that's easier anyway, because usually it's so small you can't read it. So I realized I thought we had an hour. It looks like we have a half an hour. So I'll run through this pretty quick for you. What I wanted to do, if you would turn to page 3 of the report, is just kind of revisit where we were last summer as part of the bid summary for 2020. You remain with Medical Mutual. Your administrative rates remain flat from what they were in 2019, and they will remain flat for 3 years through 2022. There was a significant increase in your rebates negotiated. It should reach and go beyond 400,000. We were expecting here in 2020, up from about 121,000. So this is something that's available in the PBM, Pharmacy Benefit Manager market arena. And we were pretty glad to see that we were able to capture an increase in that. The county did increase its specific stop loss again being that level that you pay per claimant. So if somebody has a big claim, a bad health condition, $500,000 claim, you will only pay up to $200,000 up from what was $175,000. Employee contributions didn't change for 2020. That's important because as we talk about strategy for 2021, we want to remember that we didn't do that. And then your Delta Dental was renewed. There was a 1.9% increase for 2020, holding for 2021, and then guaranteed to not exceed 6% in 2022. So that's a quick recap of where you were. And if we just revisit again, I'm sorry to do so much history here, but I want to touch base, particularly since Todd's involved. We were talking last year about going from 175,000 on page 4 to 200,000. We were looking at the ability to absorb just about 5 people going that extra $25,000. So we were saving about $122,000 and fixed premium for that stop loss for 2020. 4.91% is what you could absorb at that level. And we had this particular rundown of what we had over 125,000 last year. If we go to slide 5, it looks like we're on track perhaps to hit those 5 people. We have 2 folks that have already breached the 200,000. There's one at 180, seems to be tapering down a little bit, as is number 4, who looks to be tapering down a little.
I can just let you know that one of these dependents has passed and one is going to go on disability. So that will leave us 3 active employees or dependents moving forward for next year. Of course, anything can pop up at any time, but.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. And so it's not like we've made a bad choice at this point, but it looks like we're getting close, and we'll see how this pans out by the end of the year. If you go to page 6, we had done a preliminary forecast for you, and this is where we want to spend a moment, because we sent a supplemental 2-pager to you as well for this meeting. But we use 2 years worth of claims when we do our forecasting for you. We always have, and our claim projections are typically less than Medical Mutual because of that reason, and also because we use less inflationary trend. But if we use the past 2 years ending in March, and we stopped in March because it was believed in our industry that that's probably the most realistic way of forecasting and avoiding the unknowns of what COVID might have done. Did COVID defer elective procedures on people? Well, certainly we know that happened in dental and vision because those providers closed their doors. But for people that had elective medical procedures and so forth, to what extent were those deferrals impacting your claims in those months? So it seemed to us to be a little sounder to go through March, and that's us as a firm, and we're an actuarial firm. So we used claims through March 31st of 2020, and we also used March 31st of 2019, weighting them 3-to-1 for the current to prior. And then, of course, by stopping in March, we're using 21 months of trend, because if you look under line D, it's kind of like bank interest. You pick the midpoint of the experience period and you go to the midpoint of your projection period. So where you have annual trend of 5% for medical and 10% for drug, you're really factoring over the midpoint to the midpoint, which is the 21-month period. So that creates some trend, which I want to just point out to you because I think it becomes compelling, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So we forecast out your claim costs. We have a change in your incurred but not reported reserve in line 4 or line F. And then we added a margin of 3%. We haven't done this so much in the past, but there is that unknown as to what might materialize at the end of this year tied to deferrals. So we got a little cautious on this, and this is pretty common to put a margin in there, kind of a fluctuation margin. So we added 3%. We have your current employees and your projected costs for 2021 under K. And we had projected 20% stop loss increase. Medical Mutual came back at 17%, but they've still got the provisions that we like, which is a no new laser provision. So as we sit there this time next year, there will be no new lasers applicable to the 2022 plan year. And a laser, again, is when somebody has that $500,000 claim situation. The stop loss carrier will say, well, we'll cover everybody at 200,000, but we're going to laser that one person at $500,000. And that's not something we like to see happen. So we get the no new lasers in there. So you'll have that provision for 2022. And there's a rate cap of 50%, which you think, geez, 50%. And it's nice to have a rate cap, even if it sounds heinous like that. It's nice to have one because in stop loss, you can get hit pretty hard on increases. So we're happy that we came in a little under what we projected. But overall, if you look at this calculation and you compare it to what your current accrual rates are down at the bottom of page 6, we're forecasting about a 4.1% increase for 2021 based on your current plans. So if I could bounce you around just for a moment and go to the supplement that I sent over, that we sent over. It's a 2-pager. If everybody's got that, I just wanted to remind how we've calculated your claim costs at Portage County over the years. And if you're on page 2, does everybody have that available?
They should.
It should say forecast assumptions.
I've got it. Vicki,
Okay.
Sabrina, you guys good?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, terrific. This is just kind of the rationale for why we think our claim picks are more realistic than Medical Mutual's. But again, because of the reasons being, we use 24 months of claims. They only use 12 months through May, and they use a much higher inflationary factor. So if you look down under the first row, medical trend, they're using 10.7%, which is very high in medical. Our approach is to use 5. Drug trend are using 11.4. It's not too far off from what we use at 10. But when you look at the difference in what their forecasted health claims are, they're at 13.3, we're at 12.7. That's about 3%. And that's about the difference in the trend. So you say, okay, well, why should we believe you, Willis Towers? What we gave you down at the bottom is what your actual trend periods and case trend has been since 2015. So if you look at 2015, 16, 17, this is what your per employee per month claim cost is for health. It takes out all the large claims over the stop loss. So your case trend has been running pretty well, really since 2018 at 1.2, and then in 2019 it was negative 0.5. Trailing 12 months through July is 4.2. You might even say, well, heck, wasn't there some kind of COVID impact? You could argue that should go up a little bit. Yeah, perhaps, but you're still not looking at 10 and 11% annual trend on those. So our feeling is with the 5 and the 10, we're showing up above. Medical at 5%, drug at 10, factored over 21 months. You've got ample trend in our forecast to support where we are in this thing. And so we have done this approach for you in the past. I haven't dragged you through it to this degree, but our claim forecasts are typically much less than what Medical Mutuals are. And I just wanted to give you the rationale as to why we think we're right. The other thing that we can look at under page 2 or page 3 of the supplement is a consideration possibly of raising that stop loss yet again. And we went to $200,000 for 2020. The renewal cost for 2021 is $1,073,000. You could go up to 225 and save about 117, which means you could almost save another 5 people going that extra distance from 200 to 225. Below that shows where you've been for people over 225. Actually, we showed it for everybody over 250. And no year have you ever had 5 people over 225. This might not be a bad move to make. I realize you just did this year, and we're looking at doing it again for 2021. but it's something to think about. It's not a decision you necessarily have to make per se, because what it does to a forecast is it says, okay, if you're going to save 117,000, there will be some claim activity between 200 and 225. So we would build that back into the claim pick. So it really wouldn't affect our forecast of 4.1% to do it.
Okay.
So at any rate, something to look at. If we can go back then to the regular report, and go to page 7. This is just outlining what your plan design has looked like for the past 3 years. What it was looked like in 2018, changes that you made in 2019. So anything in red shows a plan change that you made. So you increased your out-of-pocket maximum in 2019 a little bit from what it was in 18. Your drug out-of-pocket went up. Your emergency room copay went up. And then in 2020, the only thing we changed was we added that 4th tier for specialty drugs at $75, which you didn't have before. So you haven't made an awful lot of plan changes in the last 3 years. You've made them in areas that people tend not to notice a whole lot, which is the out-of-pocket maximum. Emergency room copays do tend to get noticed, but that's a fairly competitive emergency room copay. And if you want to see what I mean by competitive, you can look at the benchmark on page 8, showing the Portage County plan design next to government sector and Ohio. And this is from our Willis Towers Watson financial benchmarking survey we do every year. So this is 2020 plan design data. So everywhere you see green is something that's richer than the norms. I think we could argue that the out-of-pocket at the moment is a little bit richer. That might be better green. Your deductible's lower, your out-of-pocket's a little lower. Your co-insurance at 90% is a little greater. Office visit copays are a little lower. Urgent care is a little lower. And your drug copays are a little bit lower in the formulary and non-formulary areas. So is there a possibility of tweaking your plan to and still be more as competitive or even more competitive than others? Yeah, that's a possibility. So what we did on slide 9 was we gave you a variety of different scenarios and what that impact would be. And so you look at the first column, that's your current plan design. And second column will be raising your deductible to $300, your out-of-pocket maximum to $2,500. And that would be worth about a half a point off that 4.1. If you go down to the bottom. And those actuarial values are that's how our tool values these plans. If you really wanted to get a bigger bang for the buck, it would be a $500 deductible plan in the middle column. And that's because that's going to have a little more front end impact on users. But you would keep your 90% and your out of pockets would go up slightly. Or I'm sorry, they would stay the same. And then that's worth about 2.1%. Then the other couple there really aren't worth an awful lot. They're less than 1% for each. So with Susan's guidance, we were doing a little bit of what ifing on this. So if we went to page 10, this is kind of on the top half. It shows your current 2020, your gross rates from a monthly and a biweekly standpoint. And as you recall, we broke out your vision and hearing in 2020 from your medical. So you got your PPO, your vision and hearing, and then you've got employee contributions for all these categories and your net Portage County costs over on the right. So the split then between the associates and Portage County is the associates are paying about 11.1% of the cost through employee contributions. The county's picking up 88.9. So on this particular page, if we make no plan changes and just pass along a proportionate increase, you would see then on category B that the 4.1% would apply to the gross premiums, and then also 4.1% on the employee contributions, so that the net impact to the county is over in the lower right. It's 4.1% overall. So you'd be splitting that increase with your employees on a 4% basis. They would be taking 4% of theirs, you would be taking 4% of yours, and it would end up being about $485,000. So this is essentially what you did last year, where you made no changes to employee contributions into 2020 from 2019. And we held the rates where we were actually, Todd, you probably remember this, we were actually forecasting a reduction, and you held your rates at flat. So the only real we made was the breakout of the vision and the hearing.
So you can see basically the employee contribution for a single plan right now is $36.26 per pay. And if we don't make any changes to absorb that increase for the employee, would be $37.74 per pay, which is not a huge increase at all. That's with making no changes. So we can go to page 11 now, and if you want to see the difference for the contributions if we didn't make a change. So my idea was, I didn't know, there's a lot of years that we don't make a change at all. And then there's some years that we make a bigger change. So I didn't know if you were going to lean, and it just depends on what we can afford as a whole as Portage County. If we can, absorb that 4% increase with the COVID and the impact that has had on some families. I didn't know if you all were going to be willing, to make that cost increase change to employees, whether it be premiums or out of pocket by increasing the deductible. That's just a choice that you need to make. But I think that's why it's important to remember that last year we could have had a reduction and we held it steady, as Todd recommended, so that way that kind of absorbs some of our costs there too. So nobody experienced any kind of an increase out of pocket premium at the doctor or from their paycheck last year moving forward. So on page 11, you can see our current, and then compared to 2, which is increasing the deductible to employees.
Todd, do you have any comment on this?
So yeah, I can give you a few of my thoughts on regarding the stop loss back to the 200 versus the 225. You'll recall that we actually talked about going straight to 225 last year, and the board decided to split it to see how the 200 went, and then if it went well, we would go to the 225. I think, what did we start at, 175 maybe 4 years ago? In each and every case, we have come out ahead so far of those changes. And as I said last year, even if all we do is break even, I would rather pay employees' claims that are actually serving them than just pay premiums that don't end up getting used. Mm-hmm. So understanding that if we go from 200 to 225, we save that 117. If we ever wanted to reverse that, it will cost us more than 117. That's just the way things are. So understanding you really can't go backwards once you go forward, I would still recommend going to the 225 regarding the stop loss. And that is a change that only affects the county's financing. It does not affect your members. Going back then to page 10, your health benefits fund is to get a 4% increase, even if it comes to that, is the envy of a lot of other organizations. Your employees do a very good job of following the advice that Susan gives them, and Susan does a very good job of getting that advice to them regarding how to save, using the different programs so that it minimizes costs. So off the top of my head, and I will need to review the fund a little bit better before a final decision is made, but off the top of my head, I would recommend proceeding into next year, particularly because of the COLA increases we're talking about right now, without even changing the premiums yet again. I think the fund is healthy enough and the forecasts are conservative enough that even if the worst case came to pass, we would still be okay. The understanding in the long run is that if you go to the stop loss and you fall behind in your rates, we need a more robust fund balance to cover ourselves. But even with that caveat, we still exceed any estimate of what we would need for that. So we're in very, very good shape.
I have to say, I agree with Todd on the stop loss as well. I would prefer to pay those claims and premiums versus paying insurance.
Yeah. Well, and I think our employees appreciate it. And I think they really, truly realize what a good plan we have.
I think they do too. And I think it helps, I know we struggle with being competitive with other counties as far as salaries go, but our benefits, I know,
Are a lot better.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and look at page 11 and 12 with the changes to the plan, or, they're in here if you want to see the difference. Or we can go, with Todd's recommendation. On page 13 is a snapshot of the COVID, which I think you all find interesting. I'd like to let Doug talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is information the insurance industry has kind of jumped at trying to collect for their clients as to just how many COVID related claims they've had. They try to give you claim counts, claimant counts, how much has been paid. This one we've been talking with Susan through the end of August, so we had one through August 10th. So at this point, from January 27th through August 10th, you had about 62, almost 63,000 or 62.3 in claims related to COVID. And on 13, I'll tell you what those breakouts were. And it's kind of the ER. You had one inpatient that was registered. And what we're finding is that sometimes these reports are well-intentioned, but there might be an inpatient claimant out there that hasn't registered yet. So you might be thinking, geez, I know of 2 or 3. Why am I only seeing 1? And that wouldn't be surprising to know that this data they collected may not have known about those other 2 because they haven't been submitted yet. But it does give you a sense of the types of claimants that they have. You look down below at the professional, those are mostly your physician claims. Outpatient would be testing and so forth at 38,000. If you go to the next page, it'll show you what periods of time these all occurred in. So you'll see yours being more heavily in June, and then a little bit more near the first part of August, and then into the middle of August. So it's your folks really started getting this registering in those particular time periods. And then lastly, on page 15, just for curiosity, where are they going to get these things done? Robinson Health System is the primary area, which makes sense. And 74% of the payments are tied to them. But these are the other facilities and clinics that were being utilized by your folks relative to COVID. Now they can update these for you, and maybe we should get a more current one. This one is dated through August 10th. But it's a curiosity thing for employers to kind of have a sense of how much is it affecting them. And so these come out periodically from Medical Mutual. We can get you a more updated one, but we thought you might be interested in knowing.
Doug, this Robinson Health System, is that the right name for that, or is it UH now? Or do we still have Robinson?
It's
Health
UH.
It is. It's
UH.
still
Okay.
It's UH now. Does anybody have any immediate questions while we have Doug? I know we won't make any decisions today. We'll come back and visit with you. We can invite Doug, or we don't have to invite Doug for our next meeting.
I
I got nothing to do. You can invite me anytime.
No, I appreciate the presentation and the ideas and thoughts for us, and want to stew over it some, but thank you very much to you and Laura and Susan for
Doug and Susan, you
all
guys
your
do a
work.
great job.
What were you going to say, Sabrina? Did you have a question?
I said, no, I said, you know what, we've always had really good presentations and very factual stuff coming from you. I mean, you guys always leave me confident in your suggestions, and I really appreciate it. So.
Oh, thank you. Give Laura a lot of credit too. She helped a lot of this pricing.
Laura helped. There was a lot of last minute changes and some tweaking I wanted to do while Doug was on vacation. So Laura really stepped up and helped out a lot. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay. Well, thanks, Doug, Laura,
Thank you.
Susan.
All right. Thank you. Good seeing you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I take
Bye now. Thank you.
David. Hi, David. There's Bill.
Good morning, Bill and David.
Good morning.
We are ready for your presentation. Thanks so much for joining us at our weekly meeting, and the floor is yours.
Well, I'm supposed to lead off because I'm the still the campaign chair. And just first of all, thank you for having us listen in on your health plan. That sounded a lot weightier in some ways than what we're talking about. But as you know, we're beginning our campaign, and we know this is going to be a very challenging year to campaign for the United Way. And we're appreciative that you've always been hospitable to us. One of the things we would like to know are there ways that the United Way could be of help to Portage County, to you guys. We did have a lot of success in raising money for COVID-19. We kind of changed our strategy mid-campaign, like everybody else had to do. And so we've been able to be a kind of a gap funder of activities that need to be addressed due to COVID-19. So if there's things that you spot, I mean, we don't have unlimited resources, but we do have some that you think we could be helpful, we would appreciate that feedback. And having said all that, I'm going to turn it over to Bill and Julia Kalecki, who is our a new campaign officer at the United Way, very capable young lady, and we're so glad to have her. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, David, and thanks for the intro and introducing Julia. And it's good to see on Zoom our three county commissioners. Thanks so much for the time today and letting us join your meeting. And I see Janet is in, and Jenna is in from HR, so that's great. And hi, Amy.
Hi.
So, and is that Bill over there in the corner? Water Resources?
No, Jean
Roberts, our
Hey, Jane.
county administrator.
Gotcha. Hey, oh, gotcha. That, and thanks, Kathleen, for your Rotary presentation. And now, okay, so we got Jean on. So yeah, so we appreciate the county's participation in our, campaign. Last year we managed to raise about $798,000 even with the pandemic, and we do, as David said, we do have some COVID-19 emergency response funds, about 43,000 of the 60 that we raised still available for organizations, nonprofit organizations and school districts to apply. And we've been getting that money out. We do, and speaking of things that, you know, if you need help with, my assumption is the county Veterans Day program that you typically have and we provide the coffee for will be different this year, but we are ready to participate. United Way never closed. We are here in the office today. Again, we were deemed essential in the governor's initial closing order in March. And so we've been helping a lot of our food pantries stay open and fund them and making sure people have access to food, which we've found is the most really, rent is becoming another issue, but food has been a really big issue. And so we wanted to know how we can, you know, better connect with our county government employees. You know, it's no secret, I think, to all of you that, you know, if the county employs 600 or so employees under your jurisdiction, if you will, and then the other county-related organizations are another 600 or so employees, if it's a total of maybe 1,000 to 1,200, and we've got about 40 that are supporting United Way, and we'd like to move. You know, we always want to move that needle, but during the pandemic, we really know that it's going to be a tough campaign, as you can imagine, and it's going to and just connecting with people. So we wanted kind of some of your thoughts about what might work better, what we could do differently to you know, have, you know, to increase that number from 40 to, you know, I'd like to say 60. That's a huge jump, but there are significant numbers of people throughout Portage County government who, you know, how do we appeal better to them? So I'll kind of leave it at that and see what you all think.
Well, thank you, Bill and David, for the work that you're doing in the community, especially during a global pandemic. And I think you hit on two of the key issues of housing and food, and making sure that our residents have these basic needs met. And we're looking at ways that we can be strategic with CARES funding that has come down to deal with the pandemic, to assist in those areas as well. So perhaps there are partnerships that we can consider moving forward on a pretty tight timeline to spend down those dollars. As far as getting our Portage County staff to participate in the United Way, I'd be interested in knowing what some of the efforts have been like in the past. I know that Brad Cromis has worked as a board member and former board chair, and done some incentive contests with employees. And I'd ask Janet in HR if you think that those have been successful, or if you have any ideas, or what are our current ways that we reach out to employees about participation. I know when people are hired, they have the option, but could you enlighten us a little bit on what happened last year and any ideas that you have for increasing the numbers?
And Jenna, correct me, because Jenna's the one that usually takes the lead on the United Way campaigns.
Jenna, welcome. We're glad to see you.
I don't think we tried any incentives last year, but I thought we tried incentives in 2018, and it did increase the numbers a little bit. Of course, we always would hope it increases it more. But we did have anybody, and Jenna, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think anybody that filled out a pledge form, their name went into a drawing, and we had quite a few drawings, and you know, people won. But I know we've tried to look into incentives the past few years. It's just, yeah, I mean, we try, and it just doesn't seem like the numbers are there yet for us. But every year we do get better.
Mhm.
I think we might have had
And we have $100.
maybe 20 more people participated. 2 years ago when we had the incentive, we had a bunch of different gift cards that the commissioners donated. I think Brad donated. Can't remember who else, but yeah, there was maybe 10 different prizes that were given out, and we did have more people. So anybody that that encouraged new people to join. But yeah, anybody that participated did get entered into a drawing, and it did seem to get a few more people interested. But then last year we didn't do that, and our numbers just kind of stayed the same.
It's
And
a
if I
tough
remember
climate, I'm sure, and I know that's got to be an experience around the county, but maybe that's something that we could discuss bringing back this year carefully. I know that, while we have worked hard not to have any furlough or layoffs of our staff, families have likely been impacted. So something to look into how we've gotten numbers up in the past, and if we can do that again, I'd certainly be interested in helping out, and I'm sure my colleagues are on board as well.
Mhm. Yeah, no, we'll definitely look into that. Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill, do you have more
ahead.
that you want to present to us? Sabrina, did you want to get in there? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Like I said, I know in the past, a lot of us have donated gift cards to try to stimulate some more participation. I don't know if there's a different kind of, maybe Bill, you could tell us of successes from other employers that have increased their participation. I mean, we're always open to suggestions as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Bill, I can tell you what we used to do at the Record Courier is, first of all, we had a very quick campaign because I didn't want to drag it out. And then we had every department, I said, even if you just donate $1 a week or 50 cents a week, just donate something. But I didn't force it. But I said, if your department has 100% participation, no matter how low it is as far as the amount, I'll give you a pizza party. And then we also, I don't think you can do this, but we for every the ones that gave more, they were eligible for drawing, and we had some prizes like a new MacBook or something like that. That's too much for a public institution to get into probably. But we did, we made it fun. We didn't make it something like, oh my God, here it is, we got to do it again, So we tried, and we just said it was important that the United Way reaches people that otherwise aren't going to get help. And we have an imperfect safety net. We have a safety net which needs strengthening, I think, but it is what it is. And I think the United Way is a really valuable gap funder of problems. And so I feel it's important. That's why I've stayed with it. So much for me. Bill, you may want to add things.
Thanks, David. In the circumstances we're in now, I think that the incentives we talked about are important and are possible to encourage people. And I thank Jennifer the data about the increases that we've had when there were incentives. So that's a real positive. I think I'm also I think it's great to do a quick campaign. The problem now is the virus has everybody at home, so communicating with people is more complicated, as you know. And so I think if the county's done like a 2-week campaign, I think maybe a 4-week period where people could get the stuff out to people via probably an email, and then with a period of time that you guys can you think is the best to follow up with folks would be good. I guess this does not answer your question, but it's something you need to know. We did, our board reviewed our community impact awards for this current fiscal year that started July 1. And we basically reduced everything by 25% because we just didn't know, we don't know how this campaign is going to go. So so anything we can do to encourage participation and get more resources in, that'll help us be able to do more for people. If not this year, then the following year. And then Kathleen, your reference to the CARES Act, we do, I do have, because of my role at United Way, chair the local Emergency Food and Shelter Board, and we've gotten in like $213,000. Actually, it's more than that. It's about $230,000 through the EFSP National United Way program to distribute, and we're working on finally getting the funds in probably in the next 2 weeks so that we can start distributing that. So that'll help with the the food, the shelter, and the utility bills. So, but yeah, I other incentives. It's more difficult, as you know, being a public employer. So,
well, we'll work with Janet and Jenna on coming up with some ideas, and appreciate
See what we can
you
do.
and the reminder of how we need to come together in a time like this, and work with our staff that are able to join in.
And I will say, we want to get the message out that United Way is actually helping people, and we're not. I know for a long time in Portage County and Portage County government, United Way wasn't the answer to things. It was kind of the more of a have to. But we want to, make sure people know that we're really responding to the community's needs. And Julia Kalecki has organized our Unite at the Drive-In, Way Drive-In. So Thursday, September 24th, we're looking for a great night, fun time, and excitement about our, we will send this so that you guys have this, but encouraging people to attend this. It's only $10 a car. So as long as everybody's in a seatbelt, you can't over seatbelt your car. But we're excited about that, and we'll get that out to everybody.
Yeah, and again, keep us in mind. If you may say, well, we don't know how we're going to do this. If we can help, we will help. So
Yep.
we want to be relevant to we don't want to be something out in outer space. We want to be relevant to Portage County, and that's why we're here.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for hearing us.
I know you guys do a lot of good.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
Okay. Going on to miscellaneous items. The Board of Commissioners approved the September 3, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
I will second.
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay.
I know, I thought my screen was froze.
No, it was me. So on this next resolution, Julie sent a updated to fix a typo, and then a few words in the whereas clauses. And I just referencing some obesity data, which I didn't have the backup for, so I just removed that. So that was the only change. It's a few words in the resolution. And I just want to thank a number of folks that have been working on this issue and encouraging us to adopt a resolution such as this, following in the footsteps of what a number of other counties, Franklin County being the leader, but Cuyahoga County, Summit County to our west, right here in Portage County, the City of Kent, the City of Kent Health Department, the Portage County Mental Health and Recovery Board. And I know that the Portage County Health Department has been looking at the issue too, and actually their community health needs assessment that they put out in 2019 had a lot of good data about some of the startling numbers, quite frankly, right here in Portage County when it comes to race and how that negatively impacts certain critical healthcare outcomes. So just very quickly, if you look at the whereas clauses, I think especially the 8th and 9th clauses talking about Ohio and the discrepancies and sort of the health disparities. And then particularly in Portage County, where Portage County's Black residents experience dramatically higher unemployment rates. Their unemployment rate is 11.7% as compared to the overall rate, which is 6.3%. They face a higher poverty rate as a community. Overall, the poverty rate in Portage County is 13.11%, which I know is troubling, but it's even worse among our Black population, much worse. In fact, it's 28%. And then home ownership rates, also an indicator of economic security and economic health. The overall rate for home ownership in Portage County is close to 70%, but among our Black population, it's only 26%. And then leading into the next whereas is talking about rate from the Public Health Department's Community Health Needs Assessment. Some of the staggering numbers. Black men in Portage County had a 141% greater risk of being diagnosed with prostate cancer than a white male. Black women giving birth are 48% more likely to receive inadequate prenatal care. Black women in Portage County are 193% more likely to give birth to a low birth weight baby, which impacts infant mortality rates in the county, which are greater among women of color and babies of color. So I'm glad that we're here today and able to do this. If you look at the resolved clause, this isn't just, it's not just words and no action. I think that we have some steps that we can take as a board and as a county working together, making sure that we're asserting racism as a public health crisis and an issue that we're serious about, talking about promoting equity through our Board of Commissioners and the policies that we adopt, looking to further solidify our alliances and partnerships with organizations that are working to address public health issues in the county and working to address these disparities. And even working with HR, talked with Janet Kopic about possible staff training on racial equity issues. She has some really great leads on that with things that are already exist that we can piggyback off of and work to promote equity in our staff. So I just wanted to give you some background about this. And I know this has been an issue being talked about throughout the community. And I'm glad that we're able to be here today and work, continue our work to address race issues in the county, especially as they relate to public health.
Kathleen,
So
I
with that, yeah, sorry.
would like to thank you for all the work that you put into this personally, because I know you did.
Thanks, Vicki. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys letting me give you just some of the background on what's gone into this. I know the NAACP really appreciates our work here, as do a lot of residents and groups that have weighed in and have talked to us about this being a priority for them. And they're glad we're doing something about it.
Right. Okay, move that the Portage County Board of Commissioners declares racism a public health crisis.
Amy, I'm going to abstain from this vote because it is not my role as a commissioner to declare a public health crisis. The resolution exceeds the scope and authority given to the Board of Commissioners under the Ohio Revised Code. Please note that. Thank you.
I'll second. Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Sabrina.
Abstain.
Move that in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 325.07, the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the monthly record of proceedings and transactions for August 2020 as presented by the Portage County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Portage County Board of Commissioners hereby increases 1.93 acres from the Wyndham Daycare Project to be used for the Wind Grove Senior Project as presented by Neighborhood Development Services.
Yeah, I'll agree to release the 1.93 acres. Second?
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners agrees to authorize application and accept the four-year 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant on behalf of the Portage County Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Move that the Board of Commissioners accepts the donation to the Portage County Law Library.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. Jean, I think you have a few items for us, so unmute yourself, unlike I did earlier, and we're ready.
Also, Todd's joining us again.
Good.
First off is the King Kennedy issue. That late yesterday, the contractor was able to provide supporting documentation after a meeting with the Portage County Building Department that got things moving back along. It's answered my questions. I'm happy to share the document if necessary, but the summary of the document was inserted in the email that was presented earlier this morning. They're looking at a shortfall of $124,000 in round figures, pretty close to that. I think the bottom line is Todd has come up with a unique use of CARES funds with a backdrop that will hopefully protect the county if the CARES audit creates a situation where they say this was ineligible. So what we're looking for is two pieces, and I'll let Todd jump in here now to explain his point on this.
Okay.
Well, I noticed the project received mental health care funding, which kind of opened up that avenue that this project is needed to aid Portage County residents. And if the mental health is willing to justify that this project needs to proceed now more than ever because of the strains that COVID is putting on the community, that's where I think we open the door to using CARES funding, with the caveat that should it be rejected in the final audit, we would reimburse those funds from the revolvers rather than from the general fund, should that come to pass at that time. The logic for CARES, number one, is the mental health aspect, and then number two, this project does not have funding for that additional 124 for this year, so we were basically moving it up because of the urgency created by COVID.
Thanks, Todd. And I think the extra direction we'd like from the board today is, one, to agree to look at the CARES and see if we can wrap that around the funding that's open, but equally and simultaneously is to go through the process that started with the last CDBG funds and reach out to Family and Community Service, the owner, to get them to do the application, go through the process of getting it approved, and then hold it, in essence, to get the CARES funds. The only piece that I would add to what Todd said is that we make sure we don't overspend the revolvers, but make sure that that money's in there for at least a time period long enough that we get through the audit, if and when we're selected for an audit.
And you know what, Jean, I think that's so important. And the thing that I like is, I know we set aside money for the restart for businesses, but it was set up as a loan for payback. And I talked to Jim Shank probably 2-3 weeks ago. I check in periodically with him to see how much of those funds are being used. Very little, if any, has been used because these businesses are not in a position that they want to take on more debt. They're, you know, due to the uncertainty, and they're looking more for grants to help, I think, than loans. And then the other thing is I was talking to the director of the water department for one of our local cities, and he was saying, you know, now that they're lifting the moratorium, like for water sewer bills, that is a big issue now because a lot of those people were behind to start with, and this has just accumulated even more debt for them that they're unable to pay. So I think these are definitely some good areas that if we can look at putting some funds in to assist with, I think it would be great.
And that's in the second presentation, and we're in total agreement with that. I think we need to look at the volume of money, the quantity of money. We've, I think, met most of our personal protective equipment needs, and unless the pandemic drags on for another 24 months, we should be in pretty good shape. The piece that we'd like to see with King Kennedy is an agreement to march forward with these two parallel. One cares and the other one is having NDS and having Mark present his project through the process. If that's okay, we'll move with that. And then the second piece that you started to discuss, Commissioner, is the CARES money itself. What we're looking for there is agreement that what was outlined for small business grants, aid to Portage County Schools, Portage County Health Department, LMI rental and mortgage assistant, LMI food assistant program. We're looking at a whole host of these issues, a large portion of which fit very neatly into the NDS. And our preliminary conversation with them, having them reach out to, because the window is really doesn't exist for rental. They're not going to be asked to leave the property until after the CARES money at the current schedule is going to be gone. So reaching out and assisting the landowners, the rentors, would actually get us right to where we need to be now and maybe make these people as whole as we can. And the same thing applies to the utility assistance. We're looking at all those right now. We're just asking, is there anything else? First off, are you in agreement with the list? And then second off, does this make sense? And Todd we kind of split this baby in two pieces in essence. I took the NDS and the business grants and all that, and Todd looked at the other issues, which were hazardous duty pay, school library, schools and library assistance, 100% reimbursement for fire and EMS and our current payroll. And in that particular piece, Todd, have you gotten any further with that? I know you're still working on it, but.
Yeah, no, that I've reached out. I haven't gotten any detail. The big question there is, what did those communities use their original CARES for, and what do they plan on using their additional? But I suspect there is going to be some costs, particularly in the EMS realm, that perhaps the county could assist those entities with if it came to that and if that was the board's desire.
Right there, my screen froze for a
I have a
second.
question about the King Kennedy, and just, it looks like based on your email that the gymnasium is going to be separate from the building. And how is that discussion gone? Because I know that there was concern with the people in the community about separating the two buildings.
If you remember in the email that was presented, there's a deduct from the original contract. Original contract was 728,000. 52,000 was deducted from the original price, which was the physical connection of the building. You have to modify the existing building. That deduct in the current amount scheduled for fire suppression of 60,000 gets us to the 123. It probably, and I'm kind of knee jerking the connection, we'd have to put the 51,000 back in, plus add probably at 80,000 to sprinkle the existing building. So what's in the 124,000 is a physically separate building with modifications as requested by the building department for extra emergency exit doors and those things. They have started discussion on how to physically connect the two together. Remember that there's two separate buildings. There's a physical separation distance required. That could be built at a later date and connect the two together. That will, in all honesty, always cost more money because now you got to modify both envelopes of both buildings versus modifying one and connecting it. So if the intent is to look at that, then we'd have to go back and get additional numbers. But at minimum, if you want to do that, we're happy to, but we've got to move quick because the weather's closing rapidly for buildings.
right.
Well, can I ask, Vicki, I know you've done a lot working with the community out there and with Jean on this issue. What was the response to having the separation between the buildings? Is that desired?
I think the community and myself, we feel very strongly about having it connected. However, I think we're at a point we can't just stall the whole process because of this issue.
It's a
I'm
cost
very
too.
concerned. Sabrina, can I talk, please?
Oh, go ahead, Vicki. I'm sorry.
But I'm concerned that it will never be done. Now, that's my concern. I mean, we can say it'll be done later. I'm concerned it never will be, but I think this project was overpromised and underdelivered, unfortunately. But it is what it is, and I don't want to hold it up because of this one issue. So,
And I would like to comment that, the whole reason the cost keeps going up is because they've had the materials and stuff delivered and they've been sitting out there for over a year. And one thing that Geraldine Nelson had brought up was the separation really reduced the cost. And I thought it also had to do, Jean, with the fire suppression or the
fire suppression has to go into
system.
the gym, not the other building
Yes.
because it's disconnected.
Jean brought that up already. We understand that, and that adds more money. I understand. that, but it's
But
just
like I
unfortunate.
said, it's, I agree with Vicki that, if we don't do something now, who knows when it'll get done. It's really sad. I know they're looking forward to it. When I talked to Maya, so.
I think at long term, the 2 years from now, when CDBG next round comes to the board, there could be a project to connect the building then.
I would love to see that.
It doesn't have to be pushed back 10 years. It's just
Yeah.
right now, we're being asked to put at risk government dollars, and this seems to be a pretty good program.
Yeah.
To do the other piece would all but eliminate the total pot of money in the revolving fund, which would be difficult if another emergency project came forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a
Jean,
consensus.
another quick question to you. Do you just need direction today and official action would come back before us?
For King Kennedy, we would request that Job and Family Service submit through the normal channel to obtain the funds. We hold them currently in place, issue a purchase order, and whatever method Todd and Joanne agree need to occur to use the CARES funds. Fast forward a year or 3 years from now, we're in a CARES audit. They said, nope. Then we go back and use the CDBG money. So it never comes out of local government funds. That's
Okay.
what we're looking for.
And you
direction.
mean family and community, right? On
Yes, I'm
on
sorry.
coming before. It's okay. There's a lot of
Acronyms.
names. Okay. And they
Todd,
would
did I
go through
misspeak?
the application, like an application process that way too. I think that's
Identical,
smart.
yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you
'cause
for all that you have done on this, Jean. I know
Oh,
it's been a
yes.
lot of back and forth.
I
And
appreciate that.
you too, Vicky, for all the time that you put in.
And Jean, just to clarify then, they will go through the normal process, which entails NDS and is it regional planning that reviews the application?
Exactly. It needs to make
And-
sure it passes the environmental review process. It needs to
Yeah.
make sure it's low and mining. All those pieces to guarantee CDBG revolving loan funds can be used if needed.
Exactly. Good. That makes it fair and equitable. Okay, thank you.
Do you have another issue, Jean, or on the CARES funding?
The CARES funding, we're just looking, or is there anything additional you see what we've put together and presented? Does that make sense to move forward? We'll work through these processes and continually update you.
Yeah, the only addition I would have, and I appreciate all those items, those are exactly what we've been discussing. Adding on the food assistance and potential housing assistance, school districts, health department. I know that the city of Kent has taken a budget hit as cities are more reliant on income tax revenue than the county, for example. So I think we should be working with the Kent City Health Department too, and looking at what options are. I know they'll receive CARES funding as well, but with the issue with Kent State and COVID, let's try to include coordination with them in that discussion about health department and how we may be able to help out as well. And that's the only item that I see missing from the list. And again, appreciate all of the work of the CARES work group and your leadership on this.
We'll also add the utility bills because I don't think that was on my list, but good catch. All right. We'll move forward with those. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I will second.
Roll call, Amy?
Vicky,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
weekend,
Take
everyone.
care.